G'day, mate. I'm John. How you doing? You alright? Pretty good. Nice to meet you.
I've had a gutful. We're all always sitting here. Some little kid's being touched up.
What do you think about that?
Don't think they should be doing that.
I don't think they should be doing that, do you? You want to go up again? Yeah. You're a natural, mate. You think your mum's going to like these?
Probably not, but who cares? Do you mind if I stay over?
Of course, mate.
You ever shot a gun before?
Feel good? So why not do something about it?
Hello, welcome to the Sport You Want to Watch Spoilercast for Justin Kurzel's debut feature film, Snowtown. I'm Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
Hello, happy to talk about. Well, I guess so. I'm here. Let's talk about fucked up things.
You have emotions about watching this movie.
Yeah.
Alright, please be aware we'll be freely discussing anything and everything about the plot themes and ending of the film, so if you haven't watched it, come back later. Currently streaming on Stan or SBS On Demand, I believe, as well. So let's jump to our discussion of Snowtown, directed by Justin Kurzel. Screenplay by Shaun Grant, story by Shaun Grant and Justin Kurzel, based on the Snowtown murders, starring Daniel Henshall, Lucas Pittaway, and Louise Harris. A charismatic but violent predator takes his girlfriend's teenage son under his wing and makes him an accomplice in a murder spree. So you haven't worked it out. The reason we're covering this one is because Justin Kurzel's next film, Nitram, is about to release a story that is very much based on the story of Martin Bryant, because Nitram is like Martin, like spelled backwards. I don't know if you knew that. So yeah, we figured we'd go back and check out Snowtown. Dylan, you've obviously seen this one before. What do you think of this rewatch?
Yeah, I watched this years back, I guess, maybe a little bit after it came out. I really liked it. And I think it's really good still. I think it's a good movie. I think it's got really strong performances. I think the reason I can understand why people might not like it, because it's just sort of, you know, I mean, it's a true story. They don't really play it anything other than what it is. It's got thematically, you know, you're dealing with pedophilia, incest, I guess,
Sexual abuse,
rape,
yeah.
murder. Like, there's just like a lot happening in this film, and it's, you know, I remember reading, there's like, I can't remember who it was, but one of the like standout reviews back in the day was someone like gave it 0 or 1 or something and said it's like, you know, one of the worst things he's ever watched in his life or something like that. I think it was like the Sunday Herald or, you know, like some sort of newspaper or something. I don't know. But yeah, I do think it's a really good movie. And as much as you can enjoy this sort of thing, like enjoy it as a film, obviously, I did quite enjoy this. And I think, so this was like the first Justin Kurzel thing that I watched, obviously. And then, I've liked everything else he's done that I've watched so far, I think, right? No, not Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed I don't, right? But other than that, good stuff.
Yeah. So this is my first time watching this. Yeah, it's good, but it's definitely not a film that I want to go back and watch anytime soon. Yeah, obviously very violent and like a lot of, it's just heavy, like a heavy film. It wasn't as violent as I thought it was going to be, I think. Obviously, there's a few graphic scenes, but really there's not a hell of a lot of violence in the actual film itself. Like, there's implied violence.
Yeah.
And, like, you see the aftermath of the violence, but there's not actually much actual, like, actions of that kind of stuff.
I feel like that's like sort of one of the big positives of the film. Which is interesting
because I'm reading the reviews after and people are like, it's such a violent movie, and it's like, really? There's not much. It's not like, I mean,
there is violence, like I guess, like depends what you classify as violence, because I guess like watching someone get raped,
yeah, I guess
violence as much
that's
as
true.
Someone
that's like,
getting stabbed, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I guess that I'm looking at it from a traditional sense of like the violence, that kind of violence. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That rape scene, I just skip forward. Like, I kind of
his brother,
yeah,
that one, yeah.
I kind of saw it where it was.
It goes on for like 30. It goes on for like 30 seconds.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's obviously, I think Justin Henshall, who plays Daniel Henshall, who plays John, is like one of those weirdly charismatic serial killer types. I think he really does a good job of like, you kind of understand why someone like Jamie would be drawn to him. This weird pseudo father figure type thing. And it's, I think it's an interesting look at like a very disadvantaged portion of the country and like what happens when like toxic masculinity and like working class people kind of like pushed to the edge and that kind of stuff, and like they feel like the reason he's kind of, well, they never really get into why he's doing the things he's doing, like what triggered him to start murdering these.
That's sort of one of my complaints about the movie is like you have to sort of do your Google search after, you know, you look up the true story and you discover that he was, you know, raped as a kid and when he was young and whatever else, and that's obviously this scarred him for life and that's what sort of drives him as an adult to want to go out and sort of kill all these people and have such a sort of homophobic outlook, and you know, like they're all monsters and all this sort of stuff. Like the film never really draws that line. Instead, I guess it just focuses more on just giving you the information that Jamie has and seeing how what he's given in front of him and how him as someone who's young and going through that would be drawn to someone who's just straight up, you know, throwing shit on that dude's the dude across the neighbor who
Jeffrey,
you know,
whatever.
started the film straight away. Like takes all the pictures of the kids and stuff, like just showing what he does to him. Like you can tell straight away how he gravitates to him as that father figure. But I do think the film never sort of like glorifies what he does. It's just more of like, or in my opinion, I don't think glorifies. I don't think you like him. I just think that you understand how a young person going through what they're going through without any other choice or any other adult figure in their life giving them an alternate option would be drawn to that person.
Yeah. At least initially. And then obviously there's this weird, the relationship very much changes once he finds out that he killed Ray and Barry. Like very much like after he gets involved, he's like kind of a passenger and is kind of like, obviously, I think clearly John loves the youngest brother the most. You know, the little one that he throws the party for and everything. Don't know why. That's kind of an interesting thing, and then picks on the middle one a lot. And like, again, the toxic masculinity thing of like punishing the kid outside, making him carry bricks, hold his arms out and stuff, and like dress in women's clothing with and weird kind of stuff. There's some other stuff throughout the film that they never quite explain. Like, I never got why they decided to kill his brother at the very end of the film. Was that?
I think they just go off. He starts like you see at that scene where he gets so deep down the rabbit hole of trying to sort of figure out and solve who he deems as like homosexuals or, you know, like, and all this sort of stuff, that there's that scene where he's sitting at that table and he's like, "They're nice shoes you got there. What are they? A bit fancy? How much they cost you?" And like, he's like, "Oh, then Jordans or whatever." And like, I think it plays as he's like, "Oh, fancy shoes, rich sort of white shoes." To me, it comes off as, and it's supposed to be him being like, he's sort of then going, "Oh, this guy's gay. Like, better kill him." Like, that's the sort, you know, like he's so far down the rabbit hole that he's sort of just drawing lines to people based solely on what he sees, and you know, like, oh, he's probably a sicko, as he would call them, or, you know, something like that. Yeah, that's how I take it as.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting comparison to make. Obviously, this film comes out 2011, 2010. Animal Kingdom comes out, and obviously gets far more acclaim and is like, obviously, like, it's Academy Award nominated and that kind of stuff, but it's kind of treading similar-esque themes and like stories.
Not really. I mean, this guy's a serial killer, right? So, like, this guy is like in jail. What's his name? I keep fucking forgetting his name.
John Bunting.
Sorry?
John Bunting.
Yeah. So he's a serial killer. Like, straight up, that's what he's classified as. Like, if you look him up, he's classified as a serial killer. I just think because of the way the film plays, you don't ever, like, it never plays him off as a, you know,
not like a classic serial killer,
or whatever. Yeah, classic serial killer. But ultimately, he is a serial killer. Like, that's how he was portrayed in the media. That's how he's, you know, he killed 10 plus whatever, how many people. It's classified as a serial killer. Animal Kingdom was a criminal family. Nothing like, not like, they're not like in a big drug empire. It's just, all in all, what went down in Animal Kingdom and the real people that it was based off, they killed cops. They killed 2 cops, which not saying that's good. However, I think killing 2 cops isn't as like major as a serial killer. In like, if I'm ranking the scheme of crime, not to say one's better than the other, but you know, like as far as like headline grabbing attention, I guess.
No, but yeah, I think it's interesting. Obviously, both feature a young person being thrust into an environment that involves people doing evil stuff, I guess, and kind of them falling into that lifestyle, I guess, to a certain degree. I think the other interesting thing about Snowtown is outside of Daniel Henshall, everybody else was a non-actor. From what I understand, Justin Kurzel got people who never, like people from the local area around Snowtown, specifically the Davern Park, to appear in the film in the different roles, because he thought it would feel more like it would make the film more than feel like a one-dimensional horror show than to a more tragic human story. And I thought, you know, I wouldn't have guessed, but you know, for the most part, that these people hadn't done any acting before.
There you go. Anyone can be an actor if you put your mind to it.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about Snowtown? Feel like
no, I just think it's I would say, because I know like when I suggested it for this, you was a bit like
hesitant.
Hesitant. I don't know if that's because you thought it was going to be more of like a fucked up horror movie or whatever, but yeah, it's, if you have been hesitant or whatever, it's a hard watch, but if you're just afraid of gore or something like that, that's not really what you're getting here.
No.
And then everyone should go watch True History of the Kelly Gang, because that was the best movie of 2019.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, he's interested in, I guess, like the subject matter of the films he's done so far.
Australian criminals, or would be criminals?
Yeah, Australia, like notorious Australian criminals. I'd say Ned Kelly is maybe on the lower scale, but it's hard to say because obviously we're so many years removed. It's like,
did you ever watch that? You never.
No, I never got around to watching it.
Why didn't I make you watch that? Why didn't I just come up with an excuse to rewatch?
I don't know.
Kelly Gang. Fuck that. That's a very good question. True History of Kelly Gang, I guess, is a little bit different than this and Nitram. Well, I haven't watched that yet, so it's hard to say. But like, this is more just straight up biography, you know, like true story type thing. And True History of the Kelly Gang is the complete opposite of the title, where it's more folklore based. Like he's like sort of, that's one of the big negatives people have of the movie, is he takes a lot of liberties. It's not a straight up biography of Ned Kelly.
You don't Heath Ledger's Ned Kelly or whatever.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, are you anticipating Nitram? Are you wanting to go see that in cinemas?
I really want to watch it.
Tasmania.
As bad as that sounds. Yeah. Like, I actually think it might be playing at Indy. I'm hoping it is. I do really want to watch it, obviously, because I'm a fan of the director first and foremost. So I'm keen to see his next one. I mean, it's ultimately, it is literally me going, it's as simple as, no matter what the movie was, I'd be like, oh, my favorite movie of 2019, that director, his next movie is coming out soon. So of course I want to watch it. Like, that's kind of what it boils down to at the simplest form. But then there is a degree of like, I live in Tasmania. It's based on Port Arthur. Like, we were, you hear it growing up here. Obviously, it's one of the things that was talked about a lot when I was a kid. You know, like it was in school. Like I was, I don't know, however old I was. Like I was alive, but I wasn't like old. I was, I don't know, like 5, I don't know, whatever it was. Yeah, so I mean, like it's definitely like a subject matter I'm interested to see portrayed in the film. But yeah, most importantly, it just simply comes down to me being director of my favorite movie of a couple of years ago is making another movie. I would like to watch that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, let us know what you thought of Snowtown and send us your thoughts on Nitram by going to explosion.com/Twitter and let us know on Twitter, or jump to a Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or tell people about the show. And if you like this episode and thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
You coming, mate?